Hello there! I'm Perfect Blinky, and today we're gonna build a boat with the Jacarius water mod. Let's go! A nice World War II destroyer, this time a German style small destroyer, the Z23. And I will explain in a few steps how I go about making one of those. First step, get the profile. Get a top profile, side profile. Make sure that you know how long it is, how wide it is, and what kind of slope it has. Don't worry about gaps you create in your hull. Make sure that you just have a general sense of the shaping. Because in my experience, going for the perfect shape first gives you a problem when you try to fit in all the smaller grid parts to the next step, which will be adding larger systems like the torpedo tubes. These tubes require a 2x1 space with a rotor in the middle, so you can attach a small grid. On top of that, I go for a simple mast design, see how I want it, and some of the more specific non-functional parts like this faux radar. So the next step I approached was just making a simple turret. This is a rotor turret, of course, using the AWG cannon pack, using its cameras, using some of the mantlets. So a lot of these parts are not your standard issue Space Engineer stuff. Make sure you use non-deformable blocks around the functional parts of your ship so that they don't jam when your ship is being shot. And then I adjusted the mast. Now it has the plane parts, which is the third mod, and the rigging, which is made by Climb, which is the fourth mod I'm using. So no vanilla, but it is required for these kinds of builds. So nice tripod type of mast for that one. And I adjusted some of the torpedoes. Now we have the whole cabin, little nook for the gunners. So we have a main turret, which we will copy, and we have the main torpedo tube ready, which I will copy later on this section. So you don't have to build everything from scratch. I first built every turret and then copy paste them on the places that they are required. This is a Viper turret and a quad M50 turret. Mostly based on the German designs, although the round part is a bit overblown. But that's the only part I have, so doesn't matter that much. So once I have made all the separate parts, I start connecting them. So for example, here we have the rigging for the masts, which is the arrestor cable mod by Climb. And I add some flags. In this case, I just add my Dutch flag. Of course, you can change it yourself with a different flag type. And just give it a bit more of that feeling that it is actually a real ship instead of a model, for example, where you would usually not see those types of details. As well as connecting these platforms, adding some of the structures, and fleshing out how one would get from the bottom to the top of the ship by adding stairs, for example, also on the interior. And this is mostly the step where you also start filling out your interior. So what is going where? Do you adding beds somewhere? Do you need a mess hall? I usually try to get at least one kitchen, one common room, one bedroom in my ships. So it feels a bit more like a thing that would be made in real life. Or a shower, for example. Then, in this version of the ship, I already started with the coloration. So once you've decided that, okay, this is my general shape and I'm happy with this, we see that I go now from the white standard to the wood panels, the extra flag details, things like that. And also using block skins. So for example, the corroded line at the water line, and maybe some rusty parts. And then for the next part, it's just another iteration, a bit more refined on the skins I'm using. a bit more of the interior done. And this is getting fairly close to the final design. As you can see, I keep using like the copying of the turrets to the very last stage, because you know they will be the same and you want them to already be set up and be functional so that you can actually use them when you copy paste them. Otherwise you have to set them up one by one, which is a drag. So for the next step, you can see I now copied all the extra turrets on their positions. I made sure that all the rotor limits are in place and that all the turrets are set up so that you control one, you control the group. And we see that I adjust some of the smokestacks. And of course the interior is now set up so that we also have lighting going on, which is a dimmer light instead of the standard lights. And things like that. So it's mostly the detailing, which will bring us to the final design of the ship, where I give the last pass and see if I missed anything. But this is almost not recognizable anymore. It usually comes down to adding a few more gyros, adding a few more engines, so that your ship is ready to sail. Speaking of, I think it is. So let's fly over. So this destroyer is the Z23, ready to be used in the SE Naval Battle community server, which you can join if you want, where you can build similar designs like this or just come up with your own and see how they fare against one another. It is a fairly heavy on the anti-air, making it fairly well protected versus airplanes, but not that well suited for ship-to-ship battles. Although the torpedoes will certainly, of course, help with that. And then we use the Aragat tech to fire our torpedoes. With a click on the button. 1 away, 2 away, 4 away, and last one away, which will trigger the automatic reload. Thank you all for watching. This was Blinky with another ship build. Till then, bye bye.